welcome to another edition of the House 94 podcast. Man, we are coming off of a fantastic week. We put in 3 in the blocks last week. We did Marriage 1 and 2. We did WAP, which today I just heard. And let me just read this so I get it right. Hold on. WAP is the number 1 song in, I want to say, hold on, 93 million U.S. streams in the opening week, which is a record, right? So obviously we know what we're talking about because we all love the song and all of that. So we just came off of a good week, put in 3 good things on Wax, and we're going to keep riding that wave with a good commentary and a good guest and all of that. So last week we had Lil Dicky from Philly, who was fantastic. We're trying to stay with that Philly vibe, and obviously we got to stay with our Spelman vibe because we love our Spelman nights. So this week we've got Monica Birch joining us. We can get a round of applause on that one. Who's going to be our softening tone to this toxic male banter that we got going on in general. Now, before we go to Monica to give her intro, we're going to go through the crew. We got Cool K, my original roommate, 106 Hubert Hall from Gulfport, Mississippi. We got Jay Crump, and what was Crump from DC. We got Chuck from Oaktown, Too Short. We got Lou Bingham from New York by way of Atlanta. And we got Quasi also from DC. And as Jay Crump and Quasi always say, they from Maryland because them accents don't go nowhere. So to kind of kick us off, Ms. Birch, first of all, we appreciate you giving us the time and coming on. We are blessed to have your presence today. Why don't you give us a brief overview of who you are and why you're important to us?
I'm not sure why I'm important to you guys, but
all you had to say is because you went to Spelman and you put it.
Well, I graduated from Spelman in 1995 and love Spelman. I'm in the Philadelphia area. I'm in the community development field, so I have a big investment in what success looks like in the region, especially for underserved communities, and I'm happy to be here.
Right. And we're happy to have you, and we love the backdrop. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to do kind of a round robin. We got several topics that we want to hit. We're going to start with COVID-19. Oh, and we're kind of in a rush because the DNC convention started tonight, so we're trying to get to that because we're going to bring you some really good, fresh content on the DNC later in the week, but we wanted to get this on Wax so we don't miss anything. So we're going to start off with COVID-19 and Congress and these sorry cocksuckers and how they haven't failed to reach a deal to help the American people, and they just went on recess. So we had our first round of COVID relief. They did PPP and they did the stimulus checks to everybody, and they did the extended unemployment. And now that this is like run its course and the virus has not run its course, they're basically saying, y'all need to figure out. And now they're trying to use this as a political football. You got the Republicans trying to say it costs too much. You got the Democrats saying we hadn't spent enough. And it's all bullshit and people in the streets hurting. So we're going to go around the horn a little bit and get everybody's take on what's going on. Jay Crump, I see you got your pensive look with your face. Like you look like you ready to light it up. So why don't you kick us off, dog, and let us know what you think about these cocksuckers in Congress not doing their job.
Well, I think it's par for the course. I mean, actually, you've got 2 divisions. I mean, you got this divided America, you got a divided Congress, and now it has overlapped to the Postal Service. And so now we got a situation where the U.S. Postal Service has now become the new political football. So the issue now is, okay, whether or not Trump is going to insert funding so that the post office can, get the staff and the ability, the manpower to get these ballots out. He's decided he doesn't want to do that. And of course, the Democrats are up in arms. And so I think they're trying to call an emergency session. Pelosi's trying to call an emergency session this week to pass a bill to get some funding for the post office. So it's all a fucking shit show, man. It's America at its demise right now, man. And it just has gotten worse. It started kind of kicked off with the pandemic. Then you had the George Floyd incident, and then the pandemic has has inserted itself in different regions of the country and got worse. And now we got the elections coming up, and it's just like, man, it's like Babylon out this bitch. So that's what it is. That's how.
Oh, you know what? I made second week in a row. I made the same mistake. It should always be ladies first. Miss Burks, I apologize.
No, that's
Let's start with
okay.
you. Actually, can you give us your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, the Democrats and Republicans are far apart. I think the Democrats' proposed bill was 3.4 to 3.7 trillion dollars. Republicans only want to spend about $1 trillion. So they're very far apart. And the Democrats propose to make their bill around 2 trillion, but the Republicans aren't budging. So definitely they're using this as political theater right now. Some of the things that the Democrats want to hire, the $600 unemployment benefit that's been going on since the first bill took place, money for state and local governments, liability, let me see, there's school funding, US Postal Service funding, and Republicans don't want to do it. So, especially with the Postal Service and with the elections coming up, it's, they're really playing into, I think both sides, especially the Republicans, are playing into their base right now. So they need to get out here. People, especially small businesses, individuals, and families are hurting and struggling during this time. So rather than taking a break, they need to get back in there and try and make something happen.
The shit is crazy. Like normally when there's a national crisis, right? Be it 9/11, a hurricane, whatever the case may be. And different administrations have had different levels of success with their response to an event. But it's always been like, you drop the party and it's all about being patriotic. Dude, Trump literally said he's not trying to fund any Democrat-run cities.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, dude, are you fucking serious right now? And like he wants to shut down the post office so they can effectively have a vote by mail system. He wants people to stand in line in this pandemic, which is like the craziest shit I've ever heard of. But I mean, honestly, Milwaukee was the best example because they shut down all the polling places in Milwaukee except for like one or two. And they had all these people like standing in line for hours on end to try to put their vote in. And guess what? They stood their ass in line to put their vote in. So y'all can try that shit if you want to. It's not gonna fucking work. Hey, Lou, give me some action, dog. Talk about this weak ass Congress.
With this divisiveness with the Republicans and the Democrats, trying to use whatever levers that they can at the detriment of the U.S. citizens. I think it's clear the actions have shown that they really don't care about their citizens. They're insisting. I saw late last week that Trump was still, or maybe it was even this weekend, he was still insisting that this virus is just going to disappear. And we're seeing the exact opposite occur.
Shit, especially in Georgia. Hell, they had to close the schools already, I heard, in Cherokee County.
And a couple of, I don't know if you guys saw that, I think it went national. First week of school, teenage girl took a photo of how crowded it was in the hallway and only like two people.
She got suspended.
She got suspended, and then they realized the heat got turned on, and they let her back in. But a number of those kids turned up positive, and we're just seeing the numbers escalate. I don't think Georgia has had a daily count where it hasn't been 3,000 to close to 4,000 new confirmations of infected. So I think what we're seeing, someone said it earlier, that it's just political theater. You have the backdrop with the mail-in votes, which the Democrats want. They want more funding for the COVID, and the Democrats are opposed. So the Republicans will do.
But wait. Don't say they're opposed. Don't say they're opposed. Democrats actually want the bill to be more robust.
They're opposed to the figure that Blue Monica just laid out. So in order to leverage what they want, they'll go through whatever measures they want to get the Democrats to be more feasible or accommodating to their demands.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck that. This is time to stand up and say, nah, we're
And
not
can I
voting for
just
that
say
shit.
one thing in the background of all of this? I believe five more of Trump's judicial picks were voted upon in the Senate.
Oh wow.
So he's getting his people
While y'all
in.
sleeping.
Oh,
Yes.
so they got confirmed this week.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. I was reading about that today.
And
Five.
that's another thing that, and I don't mean to skip you guys, but that's another thing why all this bullshit is going on. People don't understand that is the most serious thing that is affecting us that people don't even know about.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he's under the carpet putting these federal judicial nominees, nominating these folks, and these folks are getting confirmed. And because once you change the makeup of the courts, man, it's a wrap. It is a wrap. And the civil rights era was based upon, us using the courts. But if they become a situation where you have a far right judiciary, essentially you can kiss your equal rights bye-bye.
See, that's what happened in Milwaukee. And the thing that's crazy is, like, and this is going to be a nice lead into the thing about people complaining about Kamala Harris, and this is our next topic. But people are complaining about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and how she's not black enough and she's not doing what she needs to do for black people. It's like, look, dude, you clearly don't understand politics, because here's the score. When Republicans believe in tax cuts for the wealthiest individuals, right? You ain't got $1 million that you can go get cash liquid today. If you're not in that class of people, there's no reason for you to vote for a fucking Republican. You know what I'm saying? They don't believe in infrastructure spending, which don't create jobs that businesses are not going to create, manufacturing companies are not going to create. They don't believe in helping out the fucking common man. And they are loading the fucking federal bench with radical right-wing judges that are in their 30s. And they're going to be there for another 50 years. Those are lifetime appointments. We could talk about reparations and shit later. We really should talk about that in the primary, but we can deal with that in another thing, because we are not a monolithic voting group as black people. Unlike, the LGBTQ community, they tend to vote together. Other ethnic groups, evangelicals, and a lot of other people vote together. We don't. We don't have that leverage to get what we need. So the only thing we worry about right now is just getting as much as we can get, and that's trying to go straight Democrat down the ticket. But cool, okay, jump in and give me something.
Man, it's interesting, man. I was talking to a friend of mine, and we talked about the courts, right? And this is really about where do we go as Americans? There's a sector in the country that believes, hey, they want things as usual, and you see Trump is stacking the courts. They want things, as they have been, and then you got the progressive of how we move the country forward, the Democrats. The bottom line, things have to change, and I often hear people talking about Black Lives Matter. We talked about that earlier. But in America is built on protest. It's built on you got to push forward. So it's necessary, right? This election is critical. It's the soul of America, and we got to get out and vote. You got to vote your conscience. It's very important, And I saw a statistic today that talked about
Don't
they are
vote your conscience,
expecting.
dog. Vote for Democrats. Vote for
Yeah, I
Democrats.
mean,
Don't vote
you
your
got to
conscience.
vote
Vote
your
for
conscience. Your
Democrats.
conscience is the soul of America. This is very important. All Americans, listen to me. You got the soul of the country is at stake. You gotta fall in line. And I saw something that Dave said. They think this election right here, 150 million people are going to vote, and that's what I'm excited about. This country, there's no in between. You either here or you either there. Which one are you, America? Stand up.
As long as they're not crawling out in trailer parks to vote, I'm good. Chuck D, pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, these two
Hold
parties.
on, wait. Hold on, wait. Monica, what's wrong?
Nothing. Nothing.
Chuck D, go ahead, dog. Pick it
I
up.
didn't even say nothing. Nah, but yeah, we have these two parties that are just hurting us. they're just they're just treating us all like, you know, some prostitutes out there, and and people are getting now in the inner cities. Well, I don't really like to say inner cities, but just people are going to start getting real desperate. And you know, when that comes, especially they lost their jobs, a lot of service industries and the service industry is pretty big across the board.
They've
And
been decimated.
yeah, and those people right there are independent contractors, small business. All those people are like hurting. They're getting desperate, and they're gonna lose everything. And that's a fear of the unknown, that can it be something like the Great Depression? People living out on the streets, shelters, you can't go to shelters, those are already filled. So, you know, they're talking about the eviction protection, but still, I mean, you know.
No, I mean, honestly, dog, what they need to do, if they could just bridge these people for 3 months so they could like starve out this pandemic. Because like I said, I've been through pandemic training and I do pandemic consulting for a living, right?
Yeah.
The scientists should tell you, if you listen to them motherfuckers, all you got to do is starve this shit out for 3 solid months. Don't send the kids back to school. We can skip the football season. We push that shit back a few months. We can all start playing football in the spring, whatever. Give us 3 months. Give us some rent relief and some eviction relief and some mortgage relief. And dude, we'll come out of this all good. But they are so anxious to get back to work.
Yeah.
That's what's killing it. And it's like, you saw Georgia, they said, we got to go back to school. In Chicago, they're doing a virtual school for the first semester. Period. No questions whatsoever. And our numbers are pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the government is creating this. And our only hope is that the Senate and the Congress is already on board, but the only hope is that the Senate gets on board after the election once they know that Trump is done, because he's going to lose. Once they know that his ass is done, hopefully they'll say, all right, let's try to make some shit that's going to help the American people before we get to January, because we can make it happen.
I'm keeping my fingers that the crime rate doesn't increase.
Well, I think what we got to worry about. Yeah, I mean, what Chuck said, you're absolutely right. I did community service on Saturday, man, and you know, the news cycle has kind of, you know, they're always up to the newest, biggest thing, but you know, in the beginning of the pandemic, they were talking about all these lines of people in food drives, lines of people. I mean, and you know, so you started to get, you know, this sense like, damn, this is really about to be bad. And those lines haven't gone anywhere, you know what I'm saying? But the news is not covering anymore. And so I'm up at a food drive doing community service on Saturday, and that shit is still crazy. You know, I mean, for like 3 solid hours, there were these lines that stretched all the way to the Beltway of people getting food, man. And they're not even covering that shit no more. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's bad out here. If you're, you know, for those who are not, you know, upper middle class, you know, or the top 1%, man, it's a whole different life out here, man.
Quasi, come on, dog, give me something.
Well, man, I think everybody touched upon a lot of key points. And, you know, I think the big start is, like we said, there's a lot going on with the whole COVID and then what's happening behind the scenes. And the Republicans played a game of distraction. You know, those court appointments, like Trump said, that's huge, man. We have to pay attention to what's going on the judicial front, as far as that's concerned. And at the same time, with COVID, be focused and take it serious enough that we take the necessary precautions to stay safe. But, you know, again, what my biggest thing going on is Republicans play hardball. They like to distract us. They like to get us off topic, off point, focus on things that they start passing all these things that for the next decades to centuries are going to adversely impact us. And we need to be acutely aware of what's going on instead of focusing on what's happening on the surface.
That's what's up. Now, we got to switch gears a little bit. We should have started with this because this was like a burning issue, but I wanted to get on the COVID for a minute, just talk about what Congress is doing. But there's been a lot of negative reactions towards our dear sister Kamala Harris. And I kind of want to talk about like what's going on with that. I mean, to me, it's disheartening because She is extraordinarily well accomplished. She looks the part. She's experienced. She's been in the Senate. She's won statewide elections. She's done everything she's got to do. And yet, for some of us, it's still not good enough. We got people complaining about her record as a DA, a prosecutor, and an attorney general, and all of that. And it's like, dude, shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like, shit. What do you expect her to do? And I tell people all the time, like, in that role, it's kind of like complaining to the garbage man for taking the garbage away. It's like, bruh, the garbage is on the curb. I'm here to take it away. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what am I saying? Don't give me this garbage because it doesn't need to be picked up. Well, you put it on the curb. I think it's all bullshit, and I'm deleting everybody on any of my social media platforms. Gives me any amount of bullshit about Kamala Harris. Your comment is deleted, and you are unfriended. And I'm not ashamed to say that. And I'm looking square in the camera as I say it. But Ms. Birch, we'll start with you. What you think about your dear sister Kamala and some of this negative backlash that she's got?
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people just want something to complain about. Number one, when you talk about a law enforcement, person who's supposed to enforce the law, people aren't going to be happy no matter what they do. Either they didn't do enough or they did too much. No one's ever going to be happy. Also, people are acting like, in this cancel culture that we have right now, Black Lives Matter, all the different movements that are going on right now, people are acting like legislation and things that occurred in the early 2000s, that wasn't the environment back then.
Exactly.
So she was working within the environment that she was in. I think that people are talking about, I don't want to vote for her. I don't want to vote for Biden. They don't excite me. I would have preferred Michelle Obama, somebody said. I would have preferred if Michelle Obama, I would have voted for her. But if she were the vice president, the person that was the vice president nominee, they would have been talking about her husband. I think that when it comes to law enforcement, especially women and women of color, it's like there's an even more harsh criticism when it comes to that. In Philadelphia, there is an AKA that is the police commissioner. So you're dealing with the internal men network of and the sexism of law enforcement, and then the community also gives you a hard time. So it's two things. People need to be focused on what's important. Trump is changing the composition of the courts. I mean, in 4 years' time, 25% of the judges, federal judges, were appointed by Trump. 39% were of existing federal judges appointed by Obama, was over an 8-year period. So if he gets in office, there's going to be some more retirements on the Supreme Court, appeals court, things like that. He's totally going to change the landscape. So in the words of Allen Iverson, when he talked about practice, it's like her record. We're talking about records. I mean, it's what's important now are these courts, because if you think that her record was dismal, when Trump changes the courts, all bets is off. So it picks those judges, exactly.
Well, two things I got from what you just said. One, there's a level of brilliance and excellence and elegance in spelling women that is like, it just comes through every time. And, we appreciate your presence here. This is good shit. But yeah, you are right about the courts. And I actually heard that Clarence Thomas is talking about retiring now so that Trump can replace him, so that the next president, who is likely to be a Democrat, doesn't get to replace him when his dead black ass falls in the grave. And it's sorry to be so frank about it, but I don't fuck with Clarence Thomas at all. Clarence Thomas is the worst concept of blackness in existence. Anyway, so he gonna retire during Trump's administration and try to get another conservative on the bench. Anyway,
The opinion
Sorry,
of
darling.
Carl Bryant do not.
And mine
Solely
alone
the
does not
opinion of
represent
Carl
any
Bryant.
organization or any schools. But I can't fuck with Clarence Thomas, dog. Hey, cool. Give me some about Kamala and these negative comments.
Man, you gotta look at it, man. Like our dear sister Monica talked about it, man. Law enforcement things change. People evolve. You know, we're not the same people we were at 18, 25. We evolved, and she's evolved to look at the the what happened when she thought a certain way. And in 2011, I think her perspective completely changed, and she became a role model of how you handle situations. Instead of sending guys to jail, let me sit you in the diversion program. Let me keep you in high school.
Wait. Cool. Let me stop for 1 second. Hey, somebody look up real quick. When was Minister Society released in Boys to the Hood? When was it released?
Like
Early
93?
90s.
Yeah,
93?
It was like 93 through 95.
yeah.
No, we were in school, so it was like 93.
Yeah.
Society was 90. Yeah, it was like 93.
I
Right.
need to do some more research on when she was actually in office to see what the environment was like. Because if you remember back in those days,
It was tough,
crime was fucking
out of control.
insane.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead,
let's
Cool.
talk about that. Let's
That-
talk about
that's-
the
that's
Crime
crime bill.
bill.
The
Excellent
crime bill.
point.
The CDC was behind. It was supported that bill. The Black
The rest
Church
of Black
supported
Caucus was
that
behind
bill.
that bill.
You know what I'm
Absolutely,
saying?
yeah.
So when people say this stuff like, okay, she's this, no, everybody supported that bill because crime was tough. We did not know the consequences that it would have. Fast forward, oh, that was a bad bill. We made a mistake. The big thing about it is admitting you made a
retrospect.
mistake. Unfortunately, our president cannot admit when he makes a mistake. So you got to look at that. You know, that's being a human. None of us is never perfect. So when I look at Ms. Harris, our vice president, I'm overjoyed. She has the credentials.
I
She
like how
went
you
to
framed
Howard.
that.
You know, she's a member of an amazing sorority. I mean, she handled herself with class, and you know, and I saw her speech. You guys see her speech, man, when she, you know, I'm glad to be on the ticket with Joe Biden. It had me feeling, oh my God, this is Obama's type of feeling. I mean, it was amazing. So I think she has the intellect, she has the background. She understands who she is. She's not confused. I'm this. Listen, I've been socialized in America as a black woman. That's who I am. You know what I mean? So don't get that
No,
confused.
stop, whoa. Ain't about socialize. She is a black woman. She's
Yeah, that's
Jamaican
what I'm saying.
American.
Excuse me, right?
She's
She
black as
is
hell.
right.
Yeah.
And so when Donald Trump says some things like,
She got to put a hot comb on her head to get that hair straight.
right. So Donald Trump says that we got to look into that. Like, come on, Donald Trump, you know what the deal is. So, man, listen, all that noise about Vice President Harris, get rid of it. Listen, Joe Biden Harris they're gonna be in the White House. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, good. Chuck D, that's your home girl. Give us something.
You know, of course, you know, I'm going to be biased. I ain't even going to lie. But I will describe, I mean, two things I'm going to say about her. She's a very progressive person. One. Second, she's smart when it comes to crime. And I will add one more thing. She's a forward thinker, man. I mean, you know, you can't hold just we all do 180s, and we all our views change, and we can't live in the past. We can't keep holding the past because we are not going to be able to get to our future and be successful and make America what it needs to be, and that's love, peace, and happiness. So, you know,
I thought love, peace, and soul.
But you know, man, and man, I'm all the way with her, and I'm like you. I do agree with you, Carl. Anybody that's not feeling her, you know, dislike them.
Yeah, fuck you if you don't like her. You know what I'm saying? Crump, just see you roll the beard, dog. Look like you trying to get it out. What you got?
Nah, I mean, you guys hit on the head. You know, I had my issues with Kamala, but you guys, you know, the
Have we shown you the light, dog?
huh? No, I
Have we
mean,
shown you the light?
I'm not the person, you know, I think that everybody has room to grow at the end of
That's
the
right.
day. The prosecutor, and as you know, I said before, I was like, I thought that she could use her discretion a little bit better. But when we look at back in the 90s, we were looking at a gang culture in California that was astronomical, you know, and there were folks in those communities in South Central LA, East Oakland, and those places who were like, they wanted somebody tough on crime. And so you
Man,
can't have it both ways.
dudes out there. They had dudes out there killing their girlfriend and their wife and their boyfriend.
Well, whatever they had, but I'm just saying is that they, this fool. But anyway, they had crime that was, you know, I mean, you remember the 90s. It's like
Out of control, man.
talking about, you know, murder capital in every other city. It was exponential. The murder rate was like 3 or 4 times what it is now, you know, because of the crack cocaine epidemic, all that stuff that was going on in the early 90s, early and mid 90s and late 80s for that matter. So, you know, the times had changed. And one of the things, the biggest critics of Kamala seems to be that younger, that millennial crowd who really they weren't even around then, you know, they weren't even born. I mean, it's those same folks who kind of went off on Hillary because her stance, and there were these Bernie supporters, whatever, but they weren't even around. They were like, you know, toddlers at that time.
Yeah.
So we got to take that into consideration. I took it into consideration, but at the end of the day, we're not, you know, there's so much on the line right now. Fuck whatever problems you have with Kamala. You know, the fact of the matter is that this is an election that goes to the very soul, to the fabric of society, like Cruz did. And, you know, you call yourself American. I don't get into all that patriotic bullshit, but the fact is that you got to delve deep and say, what is right, man? What, at the end of the day, what is right? Who is there to at least help and assist the common man? And then who is out there just trying to be selfish and help themselves?
Indeed. Quasi, pop in, dog.
Well, you know, again, man, part of this is the stuff they're bringing up is a distraction. But I'm going to go to the whole prosecution and track record and history. The fact of the matter is, man, Mrs. Harris is going for vice president. And we want someone in that position who is effective in the job, right? She was an effective prosecutor. You don't have to agree with her track record, right? You know, she did what she did. She was effective, though. And I want somebody in the office and in any position that's going to be effective in their job. Certainly we have what was going on at that day and time. And like we're saying, crime and murder was at, you know, just an unbelievable, crazy clip back then. The thing is, again, her track record shows she was effective then. And then she evolved, as we talked about, by implementing plans as times change. So, again, let's look at what, not just a record of counts of what bodies were in jail or what have you. Look at her effectiveness in the job and what level of effectiveness she'll be able to bring to the vice president office here once elected. I like my man Cool K said, he was all on the affirmative with already putting her as the vice president. So let's put that motion. Let's not get distracted by all of the little petty bullshit that we know the Republicans again are going to throw out there. You know they're going to try to throw up all kind of little things from her past to get us off. And like Crump was just saying about the millennials, try to cater to them to get them off center and off focus. Let's stay to task. Let's get solid behind her and make sure that we vote Biden and Harris in office. Get off the bullshit.
I like this energy we got going on. Lou, keep us up there, man. Give us something real quick. Let's move on. Let's go.
Yeah, I may have misheard. I thought I heard some allusions or references to the 90s. She wasn't in office in the 90s. She came in the early 2000s. Point that I think Quasi just made about her effectiveness as a DA from 2004 to 2011, she was very effective. And Carl, to your point earlier about the garbage in the trash, my take on it is if you're a criminal, shit, what you complaining for if you get prosecuted and sent to jail? I mean, that's weak. If they did the crime, do the fucking time.
Do the time, bitch. Exactly.
So between 2004 and 2006, she had a 87% conviction rate for homicides and 90% conviction rate for felony gun charges. Now, in her record, she was harsh on felony charges and murder charges. She did show some leniency for marijuana if you had a first-time charge. She
Exactly.
didn't really prosecute, go for convictions in those. If they were very light sentences. Um, we already talked about the reentry division that she came up with for 18 to 30-year-olds, first-time offenders who nonviolent crimes.
Then the
Do
bill
some community
anti-sex,
services. Do some
anti-sex.
community service.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, she had the
she's
drug
also
program where she was like putting offenders like to work or going into some kind of program supposed to be going to jail. She put
she
that in place.
also was against death penalty. She ran on that. True to her word, there were a couple instances when a cop was shot and killed. There was heavy pressure to go for the death sentence for that individual. She refused. The community stood behind her. So she's true to her word. And then when she became the AG for California in 2011 to 2017, she did some good things in the on the financial side, where she created the mortgage fraud strike force in 2011. Um, and then she also had a national mortgage settlement where she was able to secure $18.4 billion in settlement fees from the five highest mortgage services, securing $2
For
billion
her.
for her California residents.
She didn't put Mnuchin in jail. That's my only gripe with her. But
I
his
mean,
ass going to jail in due time.
that string of things that I just ran through are quite a bit of accomplishments. I'm seeing similarities against Kamala that was brought out against Obama. We're seeing the birtherism already
Yep.
come out. I saw now they're what they always alleged with Obama and Biden, that they were coming for your guns. They're coming for our guns. They're saying Kamala is trying to get the guns when she's trying to outlaw the AR-15s. And they're saying, okay, if she's able to get the AR-15s, she's going to come for the guns next, the handguns next.
Yeah, which is all bullshit in itself. Actually, the Court of Appeals out in California just reversed course on the AR-15s and all that anyway. So it's all craziness. I do want to check
Yeah.
that on what you said though, Ralu. I think it wasn't necessarily issues that she had on criminals. It was the issues that she had on police shootings. And there were quite, I mean, being California, there were a lot of police shootings that the community felt were unjustified. And I think a lot of the communities felt that she did not go after prosecuting the police officers like she probably should have. And then there were issues with some convictions that she went over where she did not turn over exculpatory evidence to the defense. And so, those are gray area, but, that's it. I mean, those are things you can't be perfect on, but we do stand corrected. She did not become a prosecutor or the attorney DA until I believe 2003. But was she working in the prosecutor's office? Was she an assistant DA before that?
No, before that, she was working in, in 2003, she won the election. Prior to that, in 2000, she was working in City Hall in the Family and Children's Services Division.
Of the DA's office, though?
No, I don't think it was the DA's office.
Usually
She was working primarily on child neglect and abuse.
Okay, so yeah, that would have been probably DA's office. They're just handling it on behalf of the city, but in a different capacity. She's not on the murder side or the criminal side there. But
Right. We got that down covered. Moving on. So, Miss Birch, back to you, because we got to always be back to ladies first. Provided that you're ready. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
already
I'm ready.
You're Spelmanite. You good. Yeah, you good. Lights, camera, action. So the polls are indicating that Trump is actually tightening the race, which I can't imagine because who would vote for the cocksucker? But it says the polls are tightening. Like, give us your take on like what's going on with the polls and like what the ticket needs to do to try to like widen this margin.
I think from the Democratic perspective, everything that I don't know if it's the Russians. They say the Russians are interfering again. But, people are putting out, especially on the Democratic side, the argument is that the ticket doesn't excite the base. My counter argument is, well, if you showed up at the polls for the candidate that you wanted, maybe that
Primary.
candidate would have gotten in, but you didn't. So you can complain, but that doesn't equate to vote. So there's a lot of, especially with African Americans, who it's been demonstrated that we can sway the vote in a certain direction, especially when we get out to vote. I mean, there's been instances, I know when President Obama was running in office in Philadelphia, when I know people who ran for office, for state rep, when you looked at the results of the election, they would just check off Obama and nothing else. So our vote can count, but people are not taking the time to become informed or educated on the issues. They're just passing around misinformation or what they hear of sound bites. And that's the problem. I think we do need to convince millennials and younger. I don't know what's after the millennials. I don't know if it's Z or whatever, but we need to really convince them to get out to vote, because they're the ones out right now protesting and doing everything like that. But when it comes to voting, a lot of times there's a gap with that. Republicans, Trump is successful at maintaining
Lying.
his core base.
Yeah.
Also, as compared to the Democrats, who sometimes feel like, oh, higher than thou or mightier than thou, sometimes I think we don't keep our eye on the prize. With Trump, the Republicans didn't like him at all, but they held their nose and voted for him because he was going to put in their agenda. He's putting in the judges, he did the taxes, and the things that he promised. And
Promises
we
kept
have
like
to,
a motherfucker.
yes, and Democrats have to keep educating people, especially the younger generations, because the older, we vote. I think that the younger generation, one of the things that I hate, especially in this day, is when they say, I'm not my ancestors, I'll F you up, and things of that nature, which I think is the most disrespectful thing ever. Because if it wasn't for our ancestors, they wouldn't be able to be on social media saying that.
Indeed.
So, there's like a disconnect with them. And we have to reach them somehow, because I think that makes a difference. Also, getting white suburban women to vote for Democrats, because in the last election, a lot of them voted for their husband, even though there was a lot of sexist things that came out about that Trump said. They voted what their household said. So
That's not happening now. That's not happening now.
So, but we don't know that because
He's fucked too many prostitutes. He's done too much shit.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know about that, but I mean, we definitely have work to do, and there's a lot of misinformation circulating, and we just have to make sure we try and encounter that.
KB, KB, you sound like you sound real positive, like saying, we're going to win this, and I'm with you. But, the topic of the conversation is that Trump is tightening up the polls. And one of the things Monica just mentioned was that there's this lack of enthusiasm that's going on, especially amongst our younger people who are out there marching and protesting or whatever. And so how do you figure we're going to do anything without those people coming and vote? That's going to be a huge problem, because
actually it's not. I'm gonna tell you, hold
on. On one hand, we can talk about, everything that Trump's done has garnered and galvanized, Democrats in a way. But we still have this situation where we got to get these young folks in the polls. And so
True.
How do you, what's your solution to that? Because that's a big issue. All right. And the thing is,
it is and it's not. I mean, to me, well, if you think about how the Electoral College works, right? If you win a state by one vote, you get all the electors for that vote, for that state, right? So like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, there was about 60-something electoral votes. that he got because he won, and it was within 1 percentage point. Biden's not going to lose any of the states that Hillary Clinton won. He's going to carry Pennsylvania, that's his home state. He's going to carry Michigan because they flipped back now.
She
And he's
didn't
probably
win
gonna-
Pennsylvania.
Huh?
She didn't win Pennsylvania.
No. They were 47-47.
Oh yeah, it was close. Yeah.
Yeah, he won within a percentage point, is what I said.
Oh, okay.
So, it was a lot closer than the Electoral College results demonstrated. So it will be useful to get those kids out to run up the popular vote, but I think we're going to be fine in the places that we need to be. And like I said, hopefully these kids will figure it out, but I think we're going to be fine regardless.
Let me say something on this, right? So I have a so the term, so you got Generation X and you got Generation Z, right? Generation Z, they're the ones
That's your oldest son, right?
Yeah, so he's a Z, right? So X is before him. So they're on the front lines marching. This is not right, this. And if you look at Generation Z, in the Black Lives Movement, it's a very diverse group, right? You gotta look at how these kids grew up. They grew up totally different than we did. And the thing that I see that people are sleeping on, they are excited about voting.
Absolutely.
A lot of their parents are strong Trump supporters. Hey son, this is what you got to do. This is how we make a little bit of say. Dad, hold on a second. Dad, that's not right. I don't agree with that, Dad. Yeah. Mom, that's not right. You guys have seen it on the IG. Mom, I don't agree with that, Mom. So the conscience of the country is really boiling over, and now we at a so my son, he voted in the DA election here in Atlanta. All his friends did. They are excited about the presidential election. So I think you got to look at us. We at one point, we were the young guys, and we were at Morehouse. Oh, they're not going to vote. We got there, the Rodney King riots, and they're not going to vote. What do? We voting.
Voted.
Change my religion. I'm voting.
Here's the thing. What about these folks that Trump has enthused? Because I feel like there's a lot of folks who probably, even in his last election may not have voted, but it's that white male who, sitting, maybe in that trailer park or wherever, and he's drinking.
As long as he's in Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, they can vote all they like.
But what I'm saying is you have those folks who are enthused. It's like, man, I like what this dude Trump is doing. Hadn't even voted for him before, but now they've got people who are coming out the woodwork too. They're enthused by not in this election. Not in this election.
But Jay, I will say
not in this election. And I'm just coming at you as a worried person because I see it being very tight.
I do too.
I agree with you. It's tight. I agree with you. It's very tight. But listen, 150 million people are going to vote in this election. It's going to set a record number. Yeah. So all sides are going to come out, and this is going to be the conscience of the country on forward. Everybody is energized. I'm excited about it.
They just did a study yesterday. They did a study yesterday this last week where Biden could win the popular vote by 5 million people.
And still lose.
He won by like 3 million or 4 million. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
That could all happen in California. But
I will give credit to Carmichael that Generation Z, they communicate, and as far as the turnout for them, they're going to be there because they do it through social media, and they always constantly putting out little information that we don't see because we're not following that age. But they're constantly. My daughter's 15. She wish she could vote. So they're, on their social media network, it's there. They the ones that are old enough to vote, they're going to be there. I believe it.
So that may be the people that they're not polling.
I got to make this one statement, and y'all remember this. Trump had his rally. It's going to be millions of people out here. It's going to be packed. The Generation Z is one that went on to his website. Oh,
TikTok,
give us a ticket.
TikTok and fucked them up.
Exactly. Who did that? Z did that.
Exactly.
He wanted to have all these people out
and
here.
That's why
we're
he's
sorry.
trying to ban TikTok.
Exactly.
The
social media.
I think Monica has something.
No, that's what I was going to say. I mean, they may be, when they're probably the generation that they're not, the pollsters aren't taken into consideration. If they actually come out via social media and putting it out for their friends to vote, then they could be like the wild card that no one expected. You know what I mean? So because I always wonder what people are they polling? Because I know I've never been polled.
Yeah, I don't get a call. I don't know.
Yeah, so I don't know who they're
Never.
polling, but I mean, I definitely think that, that generation could be the wild card in this whole thing, because I mean, they're able to convene people to do a pop-up party on a bus in New York. So who knows what else they can do?
And then the one vote that the one poll that's I think sparking this, that the polls are tightening, was the CNN poll, which showed 49% for Biden and 48 for Trump. But that might seem like an outlier. Again, I'm not sure where these polls are. That poll that CNN did was supposedly on 15 unnamed battleground states, where they showed that tight lead for Biden. But there were four other polls or three other polls that show Biden up by 10, 9, and 11 percentage points. So it may be that one poll is an outlier.
Yeah, man, that shit ain't close.
I'm with whoever said I think it's tighter than what these polls say. I don't really trust the polls after last year. Last election, 2016. Hillary was shown to be up, and it was going to be a shoe-in. And
Y'all
then
go
you
ahead with
had
that. MSNBC
the
called
white
the
women.
fact. Y'all go ahead with that. MSNBC called the fact that she was about to lose. They called it right before she lost.
But KB, I'm talking about weeks before the election. She was
The weeks before she was a shoe-in. Weeks before, right?
She was never.
And
She
then,
was never 9, 10 points ahead. She was always within 2 or 3 points.
But what no one
All
saw
within the
was
margin of error.
no
Always
one,
in the margin
even
of error.
in the nascent Me Too era, that the white women, despite I was a week or two before the election, the audio of Trump talking about I just grab him by
Grab
the
him by the
pee.
pussy. Why can't we say pussy?
I moved on her like a bitch. I mean, despite all that, collectively put him in office. So I don't underestimate the quiet, ashamed in the public to say I'm down with Trump, and then at the poll, do what they always do.
exactly. They're gonna follow their man.
Right.
Quasi, give us some action dog on the way out.
Well, I think this generation, this young generation, like we're saying, really is the wild card, and is largely due to social media and their ability to mobilize. They have no problem utilizing social media and making sure that they pull their efforts together, and that's the real target. That's the real crowd that either party, if they want to have a legit shot of winning, needs to target and adhere and cater to.
I don't know if they're targeting that youth. I know I get at least 2 texts a day from Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I don't know if they're targeting the youth in the same way.
Yeah, I don't think they're targeting the youth. I don't think they're targeting them either.
Well, we don't know that because we don't communicate the same way. So the youth, they're very social media heavy, and they use platforms like, I'm not on Snapchat or anything like that, but social media has been used in a bad way and good ways. So we don't even know, because like even during the riots or the protests that turned people change into riots in some areas, they were determining where they were going to go in the city based upon social media. Okay, we're going to go hit up this area and go into these stores. Then we're going to head to West Philly and go to the Foot Locker. They were doing all of this on social media. And our generation isn't like, first of all, we're like, why would you put that on social? Like, we don't understand that, but that's what they did. They put it all on social media. I'm not that demographic, so I didn't see any of it, because of, I'm not connected to the, people who would do that, but that's a whole nother side of the social media and all the technology that's just not my thing. So even if they are being targeted, it's undetected to us because we're not that target audience.
So our queen, our Spelman sister from the birthplace of Black Girl Magic, you got any parting shots to cut us out?
I guess I'll say number one, thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed myself
Oh,
today.
whoa, wait. Let me hold on. Thank you for blessing us with your presence. But go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to say that my takeaways from this, or my takeaways from everybody watching this, is number one, if you have any issues with Kamala's performance or her record as a DA or a prosecutor, disregard that. Keep your eyes on the prize. You know,
Dig that.
the Republicans play chess when we're playing checkers. Don't let those people distract us from what we need to get done, because we need more diversity. We need diverse courts and things of that nature. That is like the utmost important issue, is the shape of our courts, and also our democracy is at risk. So those are the most important things. So tell everybody, get out and vote.
The end of
That's
the
right.
day.
Appreciate you guys tuning in this week. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate the attention and that you like the podcast. The house94.com, the House 94 podcast, IG, Twitter, all of that. Go in, YouTube, check it out, subscribe, like, provide feedback, let us know what you think, and shit. We'll see you next week. All right.
Peace.